Hi everybody, just checking in here on Valentine's Day to say hello and go over a few things here at the end of Collection 3. I wanted to point out that it's probably on me that I have been putting too many texts into one collection. Probably next semester as I refine my use of Salon, I'm going to probably create more numerous and smaller collections so that some of these later texts get more attention. As you can see from the kind of the hot zones here, as you saw yourself as you were going through Collection 3, Jonathan Edwards got an awful lot of attention just because he came first. I do want to point out to y'all that way down at the end is some great stuff that is going to be useful for you later in the course, especially in Units 5 and 6. When we get to Thomas Jefferson here at the end, he just did not get a lot of attention from you, and there's some really good material here that you need to make sure you at least read. I know you don't owe me any more annotations at this point for Collection 3, but do make sure you take a look at Query 14 and 18 from the Notes on the State of Virginia, as well as the draft and final version of the Declaration of Independence. So just that last tenth or so of the collection, as you can see from where my cursor is. Just got a little bit of attention at the end, but as you can see, not a whole lot. There were just a few little moments of commentary that came out. Actually, that's actually from the Inglis, I think, and the Charles Inglis and the Patrick Henry debate. Anyway, as you can see from the hot zones, lots of stuff up here. I'm still kind of falling in love slowly with the Discussion Navigator feature here. I'm learning that, yes, you can actually, as I think I showed you last week, you can click on something that's hot, and then you can show exactly what, for instance, Natasha, Erica, Maria, Diana, and Rebecca all said about this particular passage from the very beginning of the resolution. So it functions a little bit like the view mode of Salon, but I'm still somewhat partial to the view mode for that. Although I think as you all get the hang of actually replying to each other's initial annotations by clicking on reply, let's say you had something you wanted to say to Erica or Maria or Diana in particular to something that they had said, use that function in Discussion Navigator during your follow-up annotations, and I think we'll begin to see some of the benefits, because I think it's designed to actually kind of flow across the screen here, as you can see, in a series of follow-up responses to people's initial impressions of certain passages. So it's designed to be a deep way to extend a discussion. Right now, we're not doing a lot of replying to each other's annotations during that follow-up annotation stage. So I guess the way I would approach it, if you look at something like Collection 4, I'll switch over to Collection 4, which already has a few initial responses from some of you who have jumped out ahead of Monday's deadline. So thank you for that. But the way I would approach a brand new collection, if I were just coming along and wanted to read what was assigned for next week, is I would probably still go into participate mode. I still think participate mode, while they have it, and I think they may be, refining Salon as they go, so this may or may not still be the case. This may become all one mode eventually as they develop this product. But right now I really like participate mode, as I know some of you do, because it's just a clean white screen, clean page. This is where you can also get to your questions that I've loaded, as you can see up here at the Respond tab. I have about 10 questions again this week, which you're welcome to answer as part of your Salon work or as part of your reading responses or group responses, so that's up to you. This is always a good way to go, but also just that clean page for the initial annotations for Monday night. Let those happen, and then over the course of next week, you might choose another mode, for instance, Discussion Navigator. Let me do, while I'm here, a quick preview of what you're reading for next week. I mentioned a little bit in the announcements that we're moving now into, very quickly, really for the rest of the semester, into 1830s, 40s, 50s. This is with the exception here of Murray, whose poem you read in the first collection, if you recall. The poem actually appears at the beginning of this essay on the equality of the sexes, which was published in 1790. in Massachusetts magazine. And this is a 1790 text that's really ahead of its time, but it's very much about gender equality. The rest of the unit, as you'll see, we go on to a pastoral letter of the General Association of Massachusetts. So that's from religious leaders in Massachusetts who were criticizing the increasingly public role of women. Then we have Sarah Moore Grimke's reflections on the pastoral letter, so her direct response to the religious establishment of Massachusetts. Then we have her sister Angelina writing about human rights not founded on sex. Then we have Catherine Beecher's a chapter from her treatise on domestic economy. She's one of the more interesting characters, really, of Collection 4 because she's conservative in some ways about gender roles, but she's also calling for a greater recognition of the economic value of women's work, even as it's proscribed as being primarily domestic. Then we have, at the end, Elizabeth Cady Stanton's Declaration of Sentiments and Resolutions, which is sort of the centerpiece of the unit and really a kind of a measuring stick of all things gender related in the unit. So this is one to spend some time with. And even though it's at the end, I expect we will probably see quite a bit of work on this short kind of manifesto that came out of that famed World Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls in 1848. So those are our readings for Unit 4, and I'm showing them to you in this clean copy participate mode to encourage you to use the weekend to just read these readings and annotate them as you see fit, and perhaps respond to some of my questions either for Monday night or maybe for Wednesday night as part of your reading response. If you look back on maybe how this would look then when you come back after Monday night's annotations, if you look at what I think is one of the better uses of your time, I would go into, if you're coming back after you've done your own annotations, I would still go back into something like, try Discussion Navigator, because I think it has potential as a really good way to extend a discussion. So let's take these very early responses that a couple of you have already put out there. So let's say you can see there's some activity around this this section of the Murray, the third paragraph of the Murray essay, where she says, another instance of our creative powers is our talent for slander. How ingenious are we at inventive scandals, or inventive scandal? What a formidable story can we in a moment fabricate merely from the force of prolific imagination. So let's say you wanted to kind of join the discussion here and respond to something that Mary or Ben has said, and you want to either maybe agree with something that they've said or perhaps take issue with it. Maybe down here something Diana said. Consider using that reply function, because when you click on that, you are able to reply directly to Diana or Ben or Mary, and you're even able to do something with the tags here by creating a new tag if you want to start a new conversation. And what that'll do is it'll tell us a little bit about what some of the most important comments are, not only the most important passages, but the most important comments as well. So let's just keep trying to give Discussion Navigator its due, especially on the back end of our treatment of these collections. After you've had a chance to go in there and just kind of deal with a clean copy, let's try using Discussion Navigator as a way of responding to each other. My reminder at the beginning of the video would be maybe to go back to Collection 3 and make sure that you've at least read the Jefferson at the very end, and keep that in mind for future reference. A couple other things to show you real quick. I like the follow-up discussion in GR3s. Before I go to that, let me just show you real quick, remind you that there are some Unit 4 external links. That's under Web Links. I was part of an anthology. I participated in an anthology project several years ago and was assigned to write the head notes for Angelina Grimke, Sarah Moore Grimke, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Catherine Beecher. So you would do well to read those head notes. They're basically written by me, but they sound like something you would encounter in the Heath. If you don't have the Heath anthology, They also, of course, have a write-up on all of these women as well. If you might want to read those, read that as well if you have a copy of the Heath. But if not, I think you could probably look at my head notes, and these are just Word docs. Some additional texts by Stanton in particular. Rather controversial text that she wrote in 1850 called The Slave's Appeal, where she actually made a direct comparison between women and chattel slaves. Even later, much later in her career, near the time of her death, the Woman's Bible, where she kind of rewrote the Old Testament from a new perspective relating to gender. And then the full text of Catherine Beecher's treatise is here, another speech by Angelina Grimke, and a Mother's Day proclamation just slightly outside of our time period by Julia Ward Howe. So there's a few extra texts you can take a look at in Unit 4. Highlight of, I'd say, of GR3's was Diana's effort in the just yesterday to try to kind of make a final sort of summative comment about the differences between Franklin and Edwards. And as I mentioned in my my announcement about Unit 3, sort of by way of apology, I really do have 2 units there. So if you didn't get a chance to really concentrate on the revolutionary discourse, just keep that in your back pocket. It'll come in handy because, as I mentioned in the announcement, we're really looking now from here on out, from Unit 4 through the end of the course, we're really looking at that 3.5 decade period, that period from about 1830 to 1865, where it becomes apparent to this young American culture that there's some unfinished business that really now needs to be addressed once and for all, relating to slavery, relating to equal rights for various groups, including gender, including women, that simply were sort of swept under the rug in the interest of achieving some kind of early kind of national unity in response to Great Britain. So it's a classic case of a post-revolutionary regime, really, if you want to call it that, young America, trying to figure out how to live up to the very ideals that were at the foundation of the revolution in the first place. So I think you'll see a lot of that from here on out, and I'm thinking a lot of you will find Unit 4 to be very much to your liking and may well play a role in your decisions about what you want to write about for the coming draft of the essay. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon.